Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Noelle and I do unboxings here, mostly lifestyle subscription boxes, but also some stationery, books, beauty, jewelry, even a dash of Disney. So if you like unboxings, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification bell. I'm trying to get to 1,500 subscribers in August, which is my birthday month, and to celebrate that, I'm doing a giveaway with Oceanista where you have the opportunity to win your very own summer Oceanista box. So if you haven't checked out that unboxing video and entered yet, definitely check it out. For those of you who are already subscribed, as always, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate those of you who take the time every day to like my videos, to watch my videos. I love all of the comments. I love seeing comments over on Instagram as well. So again, thank you so much for your support. I do really appreciate it. Today I've got one of the favorite book subscriptions for the channel, which is a Once Upon a Book Club, and the adult version comes in this pink box that looks like a book. There's also a young adult version which looks like a green color, and they even did like a middle school version, like a one-time box, which I thought was kind of a cool thing, especially for those of you who have kids that are at home. Basically, Once Upon a Book Club is a special book subscription because they choose a novel, and then as you read the novel, as you get to certain pages, there's a little sticky note that tells you to open a gift, and then the gifts are packaged beautifully with the corresponding page number, and it's always something that's actually from the pages of the book. So it's not just things that book lovers would enjoy, but it's actually items that appear in the novel in some shape or form. So there's usually like 2 to 3 like gifts, and then they sometimes have like a paper gift, which I'm not personally that fond of because often if it's like a letter that's in the pages of the book, I don't necessarily need a hard copy of that letter as well. They actually recently did a poll over on their Facebook group asking, and I think the like overwhelming consensus was that people weren't so into the paper gifts, but they do still really like the quote cards that are included. I also really love that Once Upon a Book Club does really work like a book club. They often schedule like discussions. They give you some discussion questions to think about as you're reading it. I haven't actually ever participated in one of the interactions with the author, but I'm definitely trying to at some point when I can work it into my schedule. Once Upon a Book Club is $34.99 per month, and then plus $10 in shipping, because again, they are sending you a bundle of goodies every time. I have a couple of ways where you can save some money. You can use my code, which is mauinoel10, to save 10%, or you can use the link that I will leave for you below in the description to save $5. So you just figure out based on what level of subscription you are going to do what the better discount is for you. So let's get into the box, the book that we had selected for us for May. So they kind of give you spoilers, but you don't necessarily know what the book is. Some people who are avid readers are usually pretty good at sleuthing it out, but this one had a description that I actually didn't think that I was going to like as much. It sort of had this like pioneer, like Oregon Trail vibe, and even though that was something that I used to like love that trope when I was like in middle school and high school, I loved reading about like Native Americans and like settlers as they traveled out west. Like I wasn't sure that it was gonna like appeal to me now, but I was wrong and I should know better by now. I have pretty much liked every book selection from Once Upon a Book Club, I think with like one exception. The book for May, and again, I wanted to get this in and posted before the end of June. They are going to have some shipping delays with the June box, but that's all right, is called Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. And it is the best book, you guys. I actually just finished it this morning, but I wanted to go ahead and do this video while my ideas, my thoughts about it were fresh. So basically it chronicles, it's really a love story. There's even some like little racy bits in the novel, but it's told from 2 points of view, that of Naomi May, who is traveling with her family and her in-laws. She's actually a very young widow. They're traveling across the country to California, and then she falls in love with a man named John Lowry, who is half Pawnee and half white, and he was raised by his white father and stepmother, and they just kind of come together and go through so many trials and tribulations, but it's set in a beautiful landscape, a beautiful time period, and I raced through it. Like I started it like a couple of weeks ago and I just really didn't have time to dive into it, and then when I was like, I'm going to finish this book and I want to finish it before the end of June, and it took me like just a few hours because it was such a great page turner. So great novel, definitely suggested. I believe you can actually get this particular box, the May selection, in their shop just as like a one-time thing, and I definitely think you should if you're interested, especially in that kind of time period. It was kind of like, it had like Little House on the Prairie vibes, like My Antonia vibes, like I like had a lot of flashbacks to all of the Native American stories that I used to love to read, like short story collections by like Sherman Alexie. It was just such a great like dive back into a genre that I really, really loved. So once you open up the cute book box, you get everything inside, and then every gift is wrapped up nicely so you can kind of see, and they all have different page numbers. So I'm just going to pull everything out. And then they have a nice little pamphlet that usually tells you the important dates in terms of talking to the author, discussion points again. So that was already happened on June 19th, so I didn't get to participate once again. But again, I'm just pulling everything out to show you. The quote card this time says, and it's beautiful actually, it says, "The pain, it's worth it. The more you love, the more it hurts, but it's worth it. It's the only thing that is." So I do like the quote cards. I don't count them as like the paper gifts. I just find like the paper gifts aren't really like useful. They're not something that I'm going to keep with the book, especially if you're someone like me who has a home where you're a little bit short on space anyway, especially bookshelf space. So here we go. There is nice, it's very nice. They have a little letter from the author, so I thought I would just read that to you. It says, "May 2020, dearest reader, never could I have imagined that a journey along the Oregon Trail in 1853 could have so many parallels with the lives we are living right now. The isolation, the unknowns, the narrowing of our worlds to our own walls, where everything becomes simultaneously simpler and 1,000 times harder. I was afraid to write this book. History is always tricky. It's ugly and hard and politically incorrect. It's uncomfortable, but it's beautiful too. It's triumphant. It's relatable. And I hope that as you take this journey with John Lowry and Naomi May, you will walk in their shoes and see the world through their eyes. I hope you will gasp in excitement and your hearts will pound with dread. But mostly, I hope you will fall in love, not just with John and Naomi and the May family, but with the real people who blazed a trail and built a foundation for our own lives. Thank you for reading, my friends. Now saddle up." So I love having that little personal touch from the author, and it rings so true now that I have gotten through the whole novel. When I first read it, it actually starts with like a snippet that actually happens like 2/3 of the way through, and at first I was like, well, you just kind of gave away like a huge like turning point in the novel, and I was kind of questioning it, and there were so many names, and I was like, I'm never going to keep all of this straight, because Naomi actually has 5 brothers whose names all start with a W, and I was like, I'm never gonna get those straight. But by the end of the novel, I felt like I knew the character of each one of them. You actually sort of kind of become a part of this wagon train that's going across the country, and I thought it was a really good book. So let me just show you what the gifts are. So again, if you are a subscriber to Once Upon a Book Club and you haven't gotten through Where the Lost Wander yet, you will probably not want to watch this because I don't want to spoil the gifts for you. This was a book where we got a lot of gifts early on in the book, and then there wasn't one until like the very, very end. So you can just see here on the page, there's a little post-it note that says, "Open your gift." And then I'll just read this little paragraph so you get an idea of the context. "You have a fine head of hair, John Lowry. It is what she always says, yet she always wants to cut it off. She begins her work snipping and clipping until she sets down her shears, brushes off her apron, and lifts the cloth from my shoulders, shaking it out briskly into the yard." So that is a haircut that John Lowry gets before they set off. He's supposed to just escort the May family and the rest of the wagon train like about not even halfway. And of course, he does wind up continuing on with them, but he wants to get all like trim and look a little bit neater. So on page 25, we got this cute little pouch. I do sort of like it better when they put like a sticker on the pouch, because this is a cute pouch and I would like love to reuse it or use it as a gift bag, but it's kind of weird to do that if it says page 25 on it. And so then inside we got Jenny's scissors. So you can even see on the packaging, they have it written that it's Jenny's scissors. And then you can see there are these tiny little shears, which I actually think would be really hard to cut hair with, but I didn't take them out, but they are certainly cute. They'd be cute little sewing scissors, but they do look like the right time period because they have all of that like little scroll work on it, and they're both gold and silver. So I did think these were cute and definitely a functional item. And then it doesn't necessarily say like Once Upon a Book Club or Jenny Scissors on the scissors as far as I can tell. So it's definitely something that you could have in your regular life and use just as a little reminder of this awesome love story. So let's go to the next one, which I think was page 76. So not very far. And it does always give you that little inspiration to like get through like the next chapter, the next section. This wasn't really broken up into chapters. Well, it was broken up into chapters, but even within the chapters, sometimes the perspective would change. So now it says, "You've got my attention, Mrs. Caldwell, but I'm not sure that's what you really want." He sets his coffee down and begins to rise. "I know my mind, Mr. Lowry. I always have. My own heart, too." So she is Naomi May, but she is a young widow, and so sometimes she gets called Mrs. Caldwell, and obviously it's a way for John Lowry to kind of keep her at bay and keep her like distance when he like refers to her in that very like formal way. So we got, of course, because he's setting his coffee down, we got a coffee mug, and it came in this cute little box with like feathers. And it's very light because it is one of those nice little like enamel ones. So it's very, very light, right? It's like metal, and then it's just got, you know, this coating on it. So it's definitely like a cute camping mug, and it just says the Oregon Trail. So I never actually played that game, but I know that it gives a lot of people like flashbacks, and it is really cute, and it does match some of the really small ones that I have. So this seemed definitely like something that they might have had, obviously not with that cute little image on it, but just really lightweight, like tin cups. And then again, even on the little tag, it says the quote there. It says, "It's John's tin cup." And it says, "I know my own mind, Mr. Lowry." So I do like that. I think that's cute. We have a couple of little camping mugs. We don't really go camping a lot, but we do have this like dream of one day having a VW camper van. So I think I'm just going to like save a box of things that one day we will equip our little van with. So let's keep going through the book. I almost tossed my tin on the ground. So then the next item was kind of the paper gift. And again, I'm not that fond of these because I don't usually have anything to do with them. Sometimes it's like a nice art print, but in this case, it wasn't something that I necessarily would keep. So I will show it to you. It says, "Her hair was heavy, like a great rope, or maybe it just seemed that way to me because I was small. I would stand behind her and put my hands in it like it was the mane of a pony, and I would pretend to ride. Sometimes she would carry me on her back, but most of the time she would sit, her legs crossed, her hands in her lap, her body bowed forward so I could lean into her and hold on to her hair. More than once she fell asleep that way, nodding away as I pretended to ride. Then I would climb into the nest of her lap and go to sleep too. When I gave him a picture of a nodding Indian girl, a little boy at her back with his hands in her hair, a suggestion of a horse transposed over the top of them, he doesn't say anything, but he swallows, his throat working up and down. He rolls it into a scroll and wraps it with the others I've given him in a piece of cloth soaked in linseed oil and dried to make it resistant to water. And when he looks up to find me watching, he gives me one of his mother's crooked smiles." So this is John Lowry trying to remember his mother. So he was with his mother originally, and then she knew that she was sick, so she brought him to his father to be raised. So I did unroll it. It did come in this like kind of almost like gauzy like bandage material. So the little sticker kind of was stuck to the page, so I didn't want to go ahead and rewrap it. Also, the image, of course, is one of Naomi's drawings, and she is like becomes very renowned for her drawings throughout this story. But here it is. So it's kind of in sepia, and you can see there's a Native American woman and her son, but you can kind of see the face. Like, I feel like it's almost like an adult baby here, but you do see that nice horse scribbled there in the background. But it is really like rolled up, and it's not like something that, again, I would like keep or frame. I do really love Native American art. In fact, like my mom has like a ton of it, and she has like Kachina dolls, and like it's just a culture and something like that spirit that we really connected with, but that particular piece, just because it is so specific, is not necessarily something that I would have up in my house. So that's an example of like one of the paper gifts where it's like, yes, it brings the novel to life, and I definitely think that was important, especially because drawings were so important in the book. But again, it's not something that I find to be like a lot of the value of the box. All right, so we do have one more gift to go through, and again, that didn't happen until like almost the end. So that was like 138, I think, that page, and then we didn't get another one until page 328, and I think the whole book was like 330 something pages. So let me read this. So it says, they left Wolf's body behind. It is a gift, a mercy to Naomi, and she is with him now. She washed him and wrapped him in a small wool blanket with a stripe of every color. Washakie gave it to her, and Naomi said it reminded her of her mother's coat, the coat of many colors, like Joseph sold into Egypt. I gave her a moment, gave myself a moment to mourn alone. She is composed, serene even, but the grief will come. We will bury him here, and the grief will come. So obviously, you can probably guess from that little excerpt that we got the blanket. I do think it's a little bit like morbid that we wind up getting this blanket that the baby winds up being wrapped in, but it is my favorite gift in this particular box, and it is beautiful, and it is just this like very colorful blanket, and it's pretty big. It's got some tassels at the bottom, not necessarily like matching my home decor, but again, it is really decent quality for sure, decent size. It's like a bath sheet size. You could probably use it as like a throw rug. You could definitely use it like at the end of a bed. I'm just going to show you how like wide it is, but it is a beautiful piece, and it definitely has that kind of Native American feeling to it. You can see all of the different colors. It's nice and thin too, so you could definitely use this as a beach towel. And I love this again because it's a piece that doesn't necessarily say Once Upon a Book Club on it. It doesn't necessarily say that it's Wolf's blanket or Washakie's blanket. Forgive my pronunciation. I know that this is based on a real Native American chief, but I don't actually know how to pronounce it, and I probably should have looked that up. But like I said, I was so excited to do this video for you guys. So those were all of the items. We got the super cute camping mug. We got that beautiful blanket. We got a little drawing that is supposed to be Naomi's, and then we also got the little shears. So I actually thought it was a pretty good box from Once Upon a Book Club. Mostly pretty usable items. The quality seems pretty decent. Of course, my one exception is, again, always going to be that paper gift. I almost just wish they wouldn't include it. I don't necessarily need it, but since it doesn't feel like it's a good chunk of like the value, or it's not counting as one of the main gifts, like I'm kind of okay with it. I did just want to read something from the author's note that I thought was really nice to have in here as well. A little paragraph about, obviously they use the word Indian, which some of us are not comfortable with, but it is a historical fiction novel, so she's trying to be accurate with how it would have been, how they would have been referred to in those times. So it does say, as with any work of historical fiction, fact and imagination must be woven together because so many of the facts are in dispute or simply don't tell the whole story. One thing that is not in dispute: life was hard for the immigrants who crossed the plains. I read countless pioneer journals and compilations. The people suffered. They had very little, and most of them just wanted a better life and went west to find it. There was good and bad, ugly and beautiful, shameful and hopeful, and it's all wrapped into one very rich heritage. In order to accurately reflect the times, I had to use terms and words and talk about things that I am not comfortable with and that you might not be comfortable with either. I hope the reader will experience the story in the spirit it was written, recognizing that who we are is not who they were, and judging historical people by today's standards prevents us from learning from them, from their mistakes and their triumphs. These people helped build the framework that we now stand on. We should be careful about burning it down. So that definitely seems pertinent, something to consider, but also it was just sort of she wanted to acknowledge that, and the reason that she used certain words, her use of Native American languages, and there are several tribes that are represented in this book, but I thought she did a pretty good job of it. And again, it was a sweet romantic story that I enjoyed reading, and I enjoyed all of the gifts in this particular collection. Let me know what you guys think about it. Definitely check out Once Upon a Book Club. It is really fun to get a book and all these little surprises every month, and hopefully I'll see you all very, very soon in my next unboxing.